Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Fanatics. I'm Brayden, and today I'm going to be finally doing a video that I've wanted to do this whole time that we've been doing this channel so far, and that is ranking all 24 official James Bond movies from the worst to the best, according to my own personal tastes and preferences. But a couple things before we get started. Number one, I will not be including the Casino Royale movie spoof from either the 50s or the 60s. I won't be including that. And I also won't be including the unofficial Never Say Never Again. Number two is that, spoiler alert, I might talk about a crucial plot element to one of these movies, so just spoiler alert. And the third thing is, this is my own personal opinion. No two people have the same exact opinion, because we're all human beings and we're all different. But I would like to hear your opinions down below in the comment section. Share your rankings of these movies. Just don't get mad about it, because it's fun to have a nice, lively discussion, but when people start snapping at each other, that's when it's not really fun. So just keep it lively, but if you want to put yours in the comment section below, I would love to read it. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it, and let's see how long I can do this before I lose my mind. Starting at number 24, we have Sean Connery's last Bond film in the official series, and that's, of course, Diamonds Are Forever. This is one of the only Bond movies I literally didn't enjoy anything about. Even Connery is the best part about this movie, but even Connery seems kind of bored and disinterested, and he was too old. I know it's an untimely tragedy that he passed away last year, and this really isn't a ding on him. It was just he was chosen way too old in his career to play Bond at this point. But just taking Connery out of the picture, everything else about this movie just doesn't work. Like, this actor who played Blofeld is really bad. Just everything just seems kind of weird and just not really disturbing, just kind of awkward. Like, the plot's simple and dull and boring. Like, I walked away from this movie to make a sandwich. That shows how much interest I had in that movie at the time. I literally walked away. I didn't even bother to pause it. I walked away to make a sandwich. And the sandwich was more interesting than watching the movie. But yeah, that's just Diamonds Are Forever, just at number 24. This movie's just odd. At number 23, a microscopic amount better than Diamonds Are Forever is Quantum of Solace. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure Quantum of Solace picks up a little while after where Casino Royale left off. It picks up, I think, an hour after that movie or whatever, because it's the same kind of plot that's continuing from that movie. But why isn't Daniel Craig as Bond wearing the same clothes that he was at the end of the other one? Because it's picking up right where that one left off, an hour after. It's always been kind of odd to me. Also, why did he have to leave Mr. White's house with guns blazing? At the end of Casino Royale, him and Mr. White are the only two people at Mr. White's house. So why did he have to leave all guns blazing? Who knows? This movie is just bad. Of course, the title song is one of the worst things ever to be recorded in the history of recorded sound. And this movie is just bad. The editing, of course. I know that there was a writer's strike, and so a lot of the writing was done by the director and Daniel Craig on the set of the movie, which even there's quotes from Daniel Craig saying that he is not a writer, and it shows. This movie just is a mess. Of course, the infamous editing that tried to emulate Jason Bourne is all over the place. They're just brought into the movie, and they're like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and boom, it's gone, because the editing and the writing is all over the place, and these action sequences could be cool, but it's all shaky, and it's in your face, and you don't get time to breathe. I mean, a Bond movie should start with a car chase. That should be awesome, but it's so, quick cut, and you never get a sense of where anyone is. Cars are turning around and flipping over. This movie's just not... It's just terrible, in my opinion. There's two things I really like about this movie. One is, of course, Daniel Craig as Bond, who is amazing once again. And the second is the score. Of course, you have David Arnold coming back from Casino Royale, doing another great score, but this Quantum of Solace is just... But now, from here on up, from number 22 to 1, the rest of these movies I have enjoyment in some way or another. But At number 22, I know I can hear you guys are already clacking away at your keyboards. And at number 22 is Moonraker. Yeah, Moonraker did nothing, really, to be honest. It was trend hopping, and I know that the Roger Moore movies trend hopped a lot. I mean, like, The Spy Who Loved Me was trying to emulate Jaws with water and having sharks in it, and one of the henchmen being named Jaws. And this one just feels like the most cheapest version of Bond, mixed with a little bit of Star Wars, and of course Star Wars had come out at the time, and they wanted to do Star Wars, but with Bond. No, don't trend hop. If you're gonna try that, go all the way. Like, fully indulge. And this movie does in some aspects of it, and it's beautifully shot. And of course, Moore is great as Bond once again. But this movie, it's kind of boring, and it's a testament because Bond in space should be at least cheesy and interesting. Bond is in space for like 25 minutes at the very end of the movie. That's it. Like, I was waiting for Bond to go to space, and I know that I've heard a ton of people say that Bond doesn't go to space all that much. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's like 40, 45 minutes in space. No, it was literally like 25 minutes, no joke. And the space battle seems kind of slow, and people just floating around shooting lasers at each other, and it's just, this movie's terrible. But there's one thing that made me laugh hysterically, and that is the last line of the movie is Q. Q, that line that Q says is amazing, but the odd, fun line doesn't really help the movie. This movie's just boring. Another movie I kind of just walked away from and, like, did something else for a few minutes. I don't know. I just didn't really get into it. So, at number 22, it's Moonraker. At number 21, we have the latest Bond movie up until this point that is out, and that is, of course, Spectre. Now, I saw Spectre in theaters once, and that was when I was younger and still trying to get into Bond, and I really enjoyed it that time. On the more rewatches that I've had of the movie, because I have watched it many times since, each time it gets worse and worse. It really does. What helps it, though, is, of course, Craig is great as Bond, as well as everyone else, and the cast is great. They did waste Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, and I think if they should have just taken out the... Oh, well, spoiler alert anyway, but Bond and Blofeld are brothers. That they should have either taken that out or gone full force with it. They don't seem to use it enough, and it's kind of just a forgotten plot hole that at the end of the movie, when they have their big talk and stuff, and then Bond has to try to save the Bond girl, and then there's this bomb that's going to go off, they just kind of act like villain and Bond, not like brothers, which they should be. Mix that with this movie, the action sequences are a little bit like tempered down in terms of the stakes, and like coming off of Skyfall, which had thrilling action sequences, these ones just aren't good, but it's at least entertaining. It's kind of boring in some aspects, but I can watch this one more than I can watch the bottom three, but at number 21, Spectre, yeah. At number 20, we have The Man with the Golden Gun. Talk about trend hopping, wow. The Man with the Golden Gun, if you don't know, involves a lot of kung fu and karate, of course, because those types of movies in the early 70s were all of the rage. Again, just taking that out, I think it's kind of an okay concept for a Bond movie, but everything else is just so awkward and weird, and Moore is, of course, it's only his second film, and they really tempered everything down. It feels really like a TV movie when you watch it. It's really odd. Moore is made to do stuff that he looks uncomfortable doing. I feel uncomfortable watching. I don't know. The highlight of this movie is Christopher Lee as the bad guy. He was born to play that part. That's the best part about this movie. The rest is kind of, and the car chase, and when the car does the barrel roll, it should be an amazing stunt, but John Barry had to add a slide whistle. That ruins the moment. This movie it's just not my type of thing. I get how some people have fond memories of it seeing as a kid, but this movie is just awkward and weird, and even the song, like, this is one of the most innuendo-themed Bond movies and songs ever. This movie just kind of awkward and weird and confusing and again, weird and kind of boring. This movie just kind of awkward. Okay, but let's move on to a movie that is more enjoyable. And at number 19, we have Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan's fourth and last outing back in 2002, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Bond. I do enjoy. I enjoy this movie. Out of my bottom, like, 5, I guess, or 6, this is the one I enjoy the most. It's cheesy, over the top, but it was kind of just a fun watch, in my opinion. I laid back and had a good time. Like, I had my lunch, and I just had a good time with it. It's not by means his best. It's his worst. But I just had a good time with it. I think the plot is entertaining enough. It's never not boring, like, something's always happening. And that's what you want in a Bond movie. If it's going to be cheesy and bad, make it always interesting. And this movie is. It's fun. It's enjoyable. There's, like, an action sequence every 20 to 25 minutes. And it kept my attention. It was just a fun movie. But the worst part about this movie is not anything else, even though some of it's really bad. Of course, the main thing, of course, is Brosnan's greatest Bond, but the song, wow, like the pre-title sequence, I really enjoy. Whenever that song comes on by Madonna, well, I can't speak today. That song is just really bad. It's really just electric and weird, but I don't really like it. So let's move on. And coming in at number 18, we have a really controversial ranking for this movie. Don't Kill Me. At number 18 is The Spy Who Loved Me. Before you murder me, hear me out. I've always heard of this movie as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Bond movie and the greatest Roger Moore Bond movie. Neither of those two things I agree. I think this movie is boring and slow, and it never gets going. Like the plot never picks up. Like even with I keep saying like a lot. Even with the early Sean Connery movies, like, they were slow in, like, the first 10 minutes, and then the plot started to move, because they found their groove, and then the plot just skyrocketed, and it was really entertaining and fast-paced. This movie always is just kind of lolling along, and these characters are doing things that are really not interesting. The best part about this movie, of course, again, is the Bond actor, Roger Moore. But there's some weird stuff, like when Bond and the Bond girl are going across the desert in this, like, broken down van. There's this weird, like, carnival music playing. And of course, and the best action sequence, and the only one that kind of gets my blood pumping, is the Lotus Esprit chase, and when it goes into the water. Wow. And when it goes into the water, and of course turns into a submarine, is really awesome. But this movie is just kind of lulling and boring, and just not one that I watch all that often. And coming in at number 17, another controversial ranking, and that is A View to a Kill. Why this isn't lower? Just because on this viewing, I just had a blast with it, to be honest. I thought it was really just fun, and it was one of the ones I was watching pretty much for the first time. I just had a blast with it. It kept my attention, it kept the pace moving, it was, it moved fast. And the song, of course, the song A View to a Kill by Duran Duran is one of the best Bond songs ever. I love it. Just a fun movie. Of course, Moore was too old to play Bond, but he was still giving it his all. And the movie's just fun. It's a fun spy action movie, and it kept my attention. Just an enjoyable, fun movie. At number 16, we have Timothy Dalton's first Bond film out of his 2, and that is The Living Daylights. Not my thing, man. I watched it for the first time for this ranking, and maybe if I watch it a few more times, my opinion will change, but as it stands, I just think it's boring. But there's a section of the movie I really do love. It's from the opening to right where Bond gets drugged, that whole, like hour and a half-ish of the movie, or maybe a little bit less than that. I love that section. But once he gets to, like, the desert, and when they get to, I don't know what foreign country they're in, but once they get there, I think it's Afghanistan. Once they get there, it kind of lulls, and it's kind of not interesting anymore, and just from then on, the rest of the movie's kind of boring, and I get there's a battle, and people are on horses, and there's a plane, and Bond and the bad guy are fighting on this net that's hanging out of this plane and stuff. It's entertaining, but it never really got my blood or my adrenaline pumping. It just kind of a lulling sequence, and just, I don't know. It was a fine watch, but there's so many times when this movie just took a detour to give us 10 minutes of classical music. I get that the Bond girl plays a cello, and that does kind of factor into one of the sequences where they use the cello case to do something awesome. But it's like when they were not, I think they were still in like England or one of those places. Like every 10 minutes, there was just classical music playing for literally no reason other than, oh, it's a pretty scenery. Just, I don't know, the Living Daylights. It also felt like a Roger Moore movie still. Like, Timothy Dalton had way too many quips and was trying to play it serious, but with the script, it didn't jive. But it was a fun movie. Like, I did enjoy it enough, but not one I'm gonna go back and watch a lot. So, at number 16, The Living Daylights. Now, from number 15 on, I like to love the rest of these movies. And at number 15, which may be controversial, I don't really know, that is From Russia with Love. Now, of course, Sean Connery's second Bond film, and in my opinion, one of the best just spy stories. Like, it's just a spy espionage thriller that takes it very seriously. It's very entertaining. And on this most recent viewing, I did sit through the whole movie. I think it was because I wasn't really, like, thinking about anything else during it. I was just enjoying the movie on its own merits as a film. And of course, Sean Connery gives one of his greatest Bond performances in this movie. Of course, you have the pre-Jaws Robert Shaw in it as Red Grant. Of course, pretty much the main villain of the movie, because he's the one that's chasing Bond everywhere. And I think this movie really gets going on those train sequences. I think the train segment is the best part about this movie. It's the most famous, but I love the fight with Bond and Red Grant. Of course, we see it towards the start of the movie, we see the start of Q. Of course, Bond's gadget master, who in the next movie they perfected that. But just this felt like the Bond movie that really started, like, giving us those tastes of things that we would eventually love in the series. And this movie I just had a blast with it. Definitely one of the ones, if I want a more just classic spy thriller, definitely one of the ones that I'll pop in and watch again. At number 14, we have The World Is Not Enough, Pierce Brosnan's third Bond film, and his most serious. This movie is really downbeat, but it's also exciting. It's full of action. I love the action in this movie, and I'm quite partial to the Bond girl. I don't think that she does a terrible job. It's not the greatest Bond girl. She's kind of annoying, but I can sit back and just have a good time with this movie. And Brosnan really plays this well. It's probably, I would say, probably his best Bond performance, because he gets to play it the way Fleming, who wrote the Bond books, the way Fleming wanted Bond to be, just this cold guy who doesn't care about, like, he doesn't really mind doing this job. And you can see that it does affect him, but he's just a cold, dark assassin, and that's the Bond that we all know. And I think this movie's fun. It's not Pierce Brosnan's best, in my opinion, but it probably is his best performance. And I just have a really fun time with this movie. And of course, I always watch this movie. If I want a Bond movie that's a lot of action, but it's also kind of serious, I'll go to The World Is Not Enough, coming in at number 14. I'm going to try to slow down talking, but we're nearing the end, so let's keep going. At number 13, we have Dr. No, of course, the original Bond film, and one of the most classic and iconic Bond films. And this movie, two things that this movie did that made it iconic. The first thing is the Bond girl, Honey Rider, of course, played by Ursula Andress. Hang in there with me. I've done a lot of talking so far. Of course, when she emerges from the ocean, that's an iconic sequence that countless Bond films and movies in general, like, redo, of course, and spoof. And of course, the main thing, Sean Connery's incredible performance. Seriously. And when he's first seen and he utters the famous line, Bond, James Bond, at the poker table, watch that scene. It's the best James Bond ever. Like, He is Bond and will forever be Bond, in my opinion. Sean Connery is the ultimate James Bond, and this movie proved it. Now, I do think that they improved on the formula more in the later films, but here you can really see everything starting to come together. I really enjoy Dr. No. Again, another movie that if I want that spy, thriller, adventure story, I'll go to Dr. No. Just a fantastic piece of filmmaking. At number 12, we have the weirdest Bond title, but a fun movie, and that's Octopussy. It's hard to say, but Octopussy is kind of like, if you take out your own opinion and look at it, it's like a fun adventure spy thriller. It's an adventure Cold War spy thriller. And on my viewing of it, I had a great time with this movie. Roger Moore seems to be having a lot more fun with the movie than he did in the previous, which I think they had corrected the tone back to more campy, but this movie is just a ton of fun. Of course, we have Bond in a clown costume, but he has to go undercover in that moment, and that's the only way he can. I think this movie has a great tone, great plot. It is a little bit more, like, detailed, and if you miss it, and if you miss a line here or there, you might miss something, but if you're paying attention and you're just having a good time with this movie, you enjoy Octopussy, and it kind of has an Indiana Jones vibe, to be honest. I think it has a great vibe to it that works. Just a really fun bit of entertainment. At number 11, we have Sean Connery's last Bond film, and that is You Only Live Twice. The first time in the series that we saw the face of Blofeld, and this is the best Blofeld, played by Donald Pleasance. One of the greatest actors ever, in my opinion. Like, of course, he started with, stage stuff, but this is the most iconic Blofeld. And this movie has everything the Bond films need. Beautiful girls, exotic location, cars, gadgets, iconic villains. The downside of that is Connery kind of looks disinterested throughout this movie, but it didn't take away from me enjoying it. And I do think towards the last half, he really sees that you can kind of see that he is kind of stepping it up a little bit. But you could tell that Connery was done playing Bond. But without that out, I still think this movie is amazing. Of course, the main song sung by Nancy Sinatra, I think is her name. Yeah, of course, yeah. She did, I think that's her. Is that her? Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I get all these songs mixed up sometimes, but great song. Just everything about this movie is awesome. And Connery, it doesn't bug me as much. I still think he's playing it differently, but that could be just because he was bored and mad during this movie. But at 11, You Only Live Twice. Now, at number 10, these last 10 Bond films, I love all of these last 10 movies. And at number 10 was the one-hit wonder from George Lazenby, and that is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I loved this movie on this viewing. Another one I watched for the first time, and it blew me away. I liked how the title song is just an instrumental song. It gave that kind of like pop hit aspect of it, but also it felt like adventure and spy-ness to it. And Lazenby, I know that he wasn't an actor, but I think he does a pretty good job. And in the final moments, and this is one thing I'm not going to spoil, in the final few moments of the movie, he nails it. And something happens towards the very, very, very end of this movie that is tragic and heartbreaking, but you see, like, that's where one of the aspects that makes Bond Bond. And this movie is just great. It's a lot of fun. It's a great spy thriller. It's a great adventure. It's a great story. And just, I had a complete blast with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So, it's at number 10. At number 9, we have Thunderball. One of the most iconic Bond films, and I can see why. Another one I watched for the first time, and I was really excited about this one. And I absolutely love Thunderball now. One of the ones that I will definitely go to for just a Bond movie, I'll throw in Thunderball. I adore this movie. Connery, his last great performance as Bond, in my opinion. And this movie is just so much fun. It does take like 15 minutes to really kind of get going, but I think once Bond leaves that like hospital or whatever he's at, from like there on, the movie just picks up the pace, and it's like, okay, finally Bond's out of his rejuvenation clinic thing, and then from there on, the plot just flies, the movie flies. I am one who not only loves the title song by Tom Jones, I love the underwater battle sequences. I think they're really cool, and I don't think the pace drops, in my opinion. I found them incredibly exciting, because this is my own personal opinion. I found them really entertaining, but Thunderball, just a classic Bond story, and just a really fun few hours of enjoyment. And if you haven't seen Thunderball, one of the classic Bond films I really recommend. Coming in at number 8, we have Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan's second Bond film. And I think this movie, not only is it a great Bond film in my opinion, it's a great 90s action movie. Like, in terms of 90s action films, this is one of my favorite. Like, it's just action set piece after action set piece, and the movie flies. It's a great Bond story. It's a great kind of, just a great Bond movie. Just, it's a lot of fun. Of course, Brosnan, once again, is great. Playing a more conflicted Bond, because, like, towards, like, the first half of the movie, like, an old love comes back and something happens with her, and that you really see Bond changing throughout this movie, and it's another fun movie that I always go to for a Bond film. I love Tomorrow Never Dies. So it's right here at number 8. At number 7, we have For Your Eyes Only. So after the campiness of The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, the producers and the directors wanted to bring Bond back down to earth, quote unquote, because he ended the last movie in space. Anyway, For Your Eyes Only is one of the best attempts at bringing Bond to a more serious thing. It's Moore's 5th Bond movie, and it's his second best, in my opinion. It's one of his best. It's such a good story. It's such a good revenge story for the Bond girl. This movie is more about the Bond girl and Bond kind of just getting stuck in the middle of this. It's a great story. There's great action. Of course, my favorite Bond ski chase happens in this movie, and Moore plays a really good Bond in this time around. And another great song by Sheena Easton with the main title song, For Your Eyes Only, and you just have a great Bond film that's exciting from beginning to end. Coming in at number 6. Now, these 6 movies are my best God-tier Bond that I will always recommend to someone wanting a Bond movie. These 6 movies are phenomenal and my favorites, starting with Goldeneye. Of course, the infamous Goldeneye that spawned the N64 game. And this was Pierce Brosnan's first Bond film. And after the disaster, kind of not really great reaction to Timothy Dalton's 2 movies, they wanted to bring the series back to what it was all about. And Goldeneye really feels like a Connery movie in aspects. It's got this great plot about this former agent and best friend of Bond being the main villain, and this like Cold War thriller, and there's this GoldenEye satellite that people are vying control over because it can basically EMP anything on Earth and obliterate it. And it's a powerful thing, and the British government don't want these bad people to get their hands on this thing. It's just a great movie. It's one of the best thrillers of the whole lot. It reminds you of like Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games and The Fugitive. Just a good thriller that was focused on the story. And this is what GoldenEye is. And whenever I watch this movie, I'm always interested in the story. I'm not waiting for someone to fly a plane or drive a tank. I'm waiting for what these characters are going to talk about in the next scene. That's what makes a great movie. Coming at number 5 is one of my personal favorites of my dad and I's, and that's, of course, Goldfinger. It's the best Sean Connery Bond film. It's his best performance. He's at his best in this movie. Everyone in this movie is fantastic. Of course, again, it's a tragedy that Honor Blackman passed away last year. I think, yeah, it was last year who plays the Bond girl in this movie, but everyone does such an incredible job with this film about just everything. Every person that was involved in this movie are on top of their creative games, and it really shows. Goldfinger is one of the best. It was the film in a series that made the action look real, and of course, they introduced my favorite car in all of cinema. That's the Aston Martin DB5 with modifications. Of course, we have the first bona fide Q scene, and it's one of the best. Just this movie all the way around, Goldfinger is a blast. If you've never seen Goldfinger, check it out. Number four, sorry, not number three. Number four, another one of my dad and I's personal favorite Bond films, and an all-around great movie, and that's Live and Let Die. Roger Moore's first Bond film, and in my opinion, his best. I don't think he's ever been better. This is just a great movie and knew what it needed. They were coming off of kind of the disastrous thing with George Lazenby, and then Sean Connery came back and did Diamonds Are Forever, and then they were scrambling, so they went to the aid of an established British TV star named Roger Moore, and he forever knocked it out of the park. I love Live and Let Die. It's such a fun movie. It's fun, it's over the top, but it has that sense to it that it works. And it does kind of feel dated in aspects. It's a very 70s movie. But I think that just adds to the charm, and this includes the greatest boat chase sequence in all of Bond, and an all-around great movie. Again, Yaphet Kotto plays the villain. Rest in peace again. So many Bond people that have been in these Bond movies are dead. Just everyone who... Again, just Yaphet Kotto as the villain is great. Jane Seymour as the Bond girl is one of the best Bond girls ever. Just all around, this movie gives you everything you want and a cracking bit of fun. Now, bringing us into the top three, these are my three favorite Bond films ever, and this is going to be, I think, more controversial than ranking The Spy Who Loved Me at number 18. This is the most controversial. At number 3 is Timothy Dalton's second and last, and that's License to Kill. I love this movie. I'm a huge fan of just bloody 80s action films, and that's what this is. I love how it feels like Miami Vice or Lethal Weapon. They just took what was at the time, and it works for Bond, because it's a revenge story. Because one of his friends is hurt by the bad guy, and Bond goes off on his own, and he goes rogue, and you know, him and his boss takes away his license to kill, but his boss still has kind of faith in him. You can see, and just an amazing movie, great, one of the best action Bond films ever. It's so exciting, so thrilling. I love how he poses as like an assassin or like a hitman, so he can infiltrate the bad guys like organization. Amazing movie from start to finish. I love the Bond title scene. Not the scene, the song, of course, is one of my favorite. The title song is one of my personal favorites, of course, sung by Gladys Knight. Just an all-around, to myself, one of my most rewatched Bond films and one of my favorite action movies ever. Just an awesome movie, in my opinion. It's sitting at number 3. Bring us into the top 2. At number 2, we have Casino Royale. A great movie. Like, I talked about it in my review back last year. Wow, that was a while ago. But, yeah, it's a great movie. This movie did for Bond what many have tried to do, and that is reinvent it. This movie, and the Daniel Craig series, is a reboot of Bond. It's starting from the beginning, and in Casino Royale, you see that Bond becomes a 00 agent in the opening sequence, and the greatest, the greatest transition from pre-title sequence into title sequence, where you finally get the Daniel Craig gun barrel, the best Daniel Craig gun barrel sequence. That whole opening is amazing. I love how it's in black and white. They introduced Bond again, like Timothy Dalton, as a cold, dark assassin, and Daniel Craig gave an amazing performance. Again, another movie where the ending is kind of heartbreaking, but the very ending, where he, of course, utters the famous James Bond line, and you hear the theme for the first time. Oh, that scene makes me pump my fist in the air. And on the most recent watch, I turned to my dad and I go, "That's how you make a movie." And we were like, "Yeah, that's how you make a movie." Just, of course, I love Casino Royale. It was one of my first Bond films, and it will always be my second favorite. So, at number 2, Casino Royale. Coming at number 1, it's no surprise if you look at the individual Blu-ray I have right there. I love Skyfall, of course, is at number 1. Skyfall is the most cinematic Bond film ever. Everything from the pre-titles to the title song. I mean, Skyfall by Adele is one of the best Bond songs ever. To the rest of the movie, it feels cinematic. And Roger Deakins shot this movie, who filmed Shawshank Redemption. Every single thing about this movie is on top of it. I like how they switched some elements, and there's no real Bond girl, because the Bond girl kind of gets killed off towards, like, the end of the first act, and it doesn't matter, because this movie didn't need every element of Bond. Like, it didn't need everything. And this movie hit everything perfectly. Of course, Javier Bardem is amazing as the villain. This is unfortunately Judi Dench's last time as M, because her character was killed off. But great scene, though, when she dies in Bond's arms. And Bond is... You can see that Bond is crying. Like, because he's known this M for so long that he just... It's sad, but the last couple of minutes are really hopeful, as, of course, the girl... kind of like the main Bond girl turns out to be Moneypenny, and there's a new M, and when he asks Bond is he ready to get back to work, and Bond goes, with pleasure, M. With pleasure. And then you hear the Bond theme starts blaring, and you see the gun barrel, and then it says 50 years of Bond, because Skyfall was the 50th anniversary. They forever knocked it out of the park. Skyfall will always be my favorite Bond film. It'll take something to top this. It'll take... Maybe my opinion will change one day, but as of now, Skyfall is my favorite Bond film ever. One of my favorite movies ever. It's so cinematic, so great, and it's sitting here at number 1. Wow. I've been talking, I think, for about 40 minutes. This is the longest video I'm doing, and of course, some things are going to be edited out, but wow. This video has been a long time in the works. I've had to find time to film this and, of course, watch the last 9 Bond films. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks, is there were 9 Bond movies I had never seen. So I cracked down on that. I watched the last 9 I have never seen. Then I compiled my ranking, and it changed like 4 times, but I think I have my ranking that I'm most happy with, and I think this is the ranking that'll keep for quite a while. But as a Bond fan, I've always wanted to do this. I just kicked my camera. But just thank you all so much for watching my face for 40 minutes. Just thank you all so much for watching, not only this video, but the channel. I'm sorry I didn't get a video out on our 1-year anniversary last week, and that was because something happened in my I can't speak. My mouth is so dry right now. I couldn't get a video out because my internet wasn't working correctly, so I'm sorry, but I just want to thank you guys now. Thank you to everyone, and just a big thank you to Brannick for doing this with me. It means so much to me, and it means so much that you edit my videos that I want you to edit. And just an amazing person, of course, Dave from Durant Cinema. Thank you for doing that video with us and showing us to the rest of YouTube and to all your viewers. There have been people who have commented on our videos saying that they found us through you, Dave, so thank you. But just everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Dave, thank you. Brannick, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and put your list or ranking of the Bond films in the comment section below. And as always, look forward to more reviews very soon. This has been Brayden from the Movie Fanatics, signing off.